But if you're proficient in one of these and you choose that dialogue option, not only do you add your charisma ability modifier, you also get to add your proficiency bonus to the roll, giving you a higher chance of success. So let's see what happens. Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to discuss some of the rules and mechanics behind Baldur's Gate 3, specifically when dealing with ability checks. So ability checks are going to be presented to all players in Baldur's Gate 3, and quite frequently, may I add, so it's probably a good idea to get a basic understanding for how they work. I'm going to break it down for you, and then in the second half of the video show some in-game examples. I have done some mechanics videos in the past, but I decided I'm going to break down some of these subjects into individual videos so people don't get overwhelmed. If you guys end up enjoying this video, please subscribe for the much more Baldur's Gate 3 content on the way. I've already done 45 plus BG3 videos up to this point. Love to see some of you guys in a future video. Links to my Twitter and my Discord server will be below. Let's talk ability checks. So what exactly are ability checks? Ability checks can incorporate many things, but in a general sense, an ability check tests a character's or monster's innate talent and training in an effort to overcome a challenge. So in Baldur's Gate 3, the game will call for you to make an ability check when you attempt an action that has a chance of failure. This does not include attacks. It will do this by making you roll a 20-sided die, and sometimes you'll actually roll the digital die on your screen. Other creatures in the game may also have to make ability checks when certain things happen. Examples of situations that have a chance of failure could include attempting to break through something, disabling a trap, or maybe even forging a document. Ability checks can also happen in social situations, and they will quite frequently, such as testing to see if your character is capable of being deceptive and hiding the truth about something, or testing to see if you're intimidating enough to have someone obey your commands. There will also be passive ability checks where as you're playing the game, they will automatically do a quick and almost instant passive check to see if your character is, for example, sneaking well enough, or if your character is perceptive enough to notice something. Ability checks will be a big part of this game. Before we get into the in-game examples, let's go over the abilities that will be in the game as well as the skills that are associated with those abilities. Once you understand how this works, you'll not only be able to create a character that is good in the areas that you want them to be, but you'll also be able to understand why you're succeeding or failing on ability checks. Baldur's Gate 3, like D&D, will deal with 6 abilities: Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. When you create a character, as well as when you reach certain levels, you will invest points into ability scores of your choice. The higher your ability score, typically the higher your chance for success in ability checks dealing with that specific ability will be. For all ability checks, players and monsters will have to roll a 20-sided die, and your 20-sided die results will go up against the difficulty class for the situation that you're in. So if you're moving a boulder, for example, that situation might have a difficulty class of 16, which means that you have to tie or beat 16 in order to successfully move the boulder. However, the final outcome of your roll will also include your ability modifier, which is a number that is always added to your roll. In simple terms, investing into specific ability scores will give you a higher modifier for that specific ability. The higher your modifier, the more you get to add to your roll, further increasing your chances of success. Your ability modifiers will be determined by a chart or a simple calculation. Every 2 points above 10 that you have invested into an ability will give you a +1 for your modifier. 12 points into strength is a +1 strength modifier. 14 points is a +2. 16 is a +3. 18 is a +4. And the max ability score that you can have is 20, giving you a max of +5 for your modifier. Now, if you only have 10 points in an ability score, you will have a 0 modifier, and then every 2 below 10 you get a -1 to your modifier. It is possible that every character will start off with a minimum of an 8 ability score in all 6 abilities, so you might not have to deal with the negatives too much. Now let's quickly talk about the skills, and I promise the in-game examples are coming. Skills in Baldur's Gate 3 are not special attacks or anything like that. They are specific things that your character can be exceptionally good at, and all of the skills fall under the category of one of the 6 abilities. If you get an ability check that deals with a specific skill, the same process will happen that we just talked about. A 20-sided die will be rolled, your modifier for the ability will be added, but now if you have proficiency in the specific skill being used, you will get to add your proficiency bonus to the equation, and then your final results will go against the DC or difficulty class of the situation. If you're proficient in a skill, you automatically get a +2 at level 1, and that will increase to a +3 at character level 5, and then a +4 at character level 9. So now with an ability check dealing with a skill that you're proficient in, you roll the 20-sided die, add your ability modifier, add your proficiency bonus, and that is your final result that needs to be equal to or higher than the target DC to succeed. If you are not proficient in the skill being used, you will simply not add a proficiency bonus. Baldur's Gate 3 itself handles these ability checks in a slightly different way than in D&D in terms of the order of the calculations, and I will show this shortly in the in-game examples. There will be a good amount of skills in the game, so just know that each skill corresponds with a certain ability. For example, the perception skill is dealing with wisdom ability checks, an athletics skill is dealing with strength ability checks, investigation skills deal with intelligence checks. Alright, now the moment you guys have been waiting for, let's get into the in-game example so you can see what this truly is all about. So this is the ability check that I wanted to discuss with you guys, and it deals with Lizelle, the Githyanki origin character. She walks up to a goblin camp. I think it's a goblin camp. Probably should have watched this video a little bit more before making a video on it. But she walks up to the goblin camp. There's a dead body on the ground. Lizelle wants to loot the body or take the body, but the goblin child says, no, this is my loot, this is my body. We have a conflict of interest in the dialogue. When there's a conflict of interest, that means there's a challenge. When there's a challenge, oftentimes we see ability checks. So let's see what happens. So we're presented with 4 different dialogue options. The 4th option does not deal with an ability check at all. It's just leave. But options 1, 2, and 3 are all ability checks. 1 and 2 are charisma ability checks, while option 3 is a wisdom ability check. Option 3 also deals with the tadpole in your brain. I don't want to get too much into that in this video, so we'll focus on 1 and 2. So 1 and 2 are both charisma ability checks, which means we're going to roll a 20-sided die and add our charisma ability modifier to the results of our roll. But you'll also notice that 1 and 2 deal with specific skills. Option 1 deals with the deception skill, while option 2 deals with the intimidation skill. So if you're proficient in one of these skills, or maybe both or none, but if you're proficient in one of these and you choose that dialogue option, not only do you add your charisma ability modifier, you also get to add your proficiency bonus to the roll, giving you a higher chance of success. So let's see what happens.
I could obviously give into the tadpole again, but I'm just...
Sven goes with option number 2, which is charisma and intimidation. And our digital die pops up. I think this looks really cool. I'm really excited to do this in the game. And you see it's a 20-sided die, and above that it says 7. So you'd think that 7 would be the DC for the situation, but it's actually not the difficulty class. 7 is telling you what you need to roll. I'll explain in a minute what I mean by that. So underneath the 20-sided die, it says intimidation charisma check. So this is a charisma ability check that deals with the intimidation skill. So right here, when he hovers over the die, we actually get to see what's going on. So in the bottom left of this box, it says 8 difficulty checks. So the DC for this situation is actually 8, not 7. But D&D, you would typically do an ability check. You would roll the 20-sided die and then add your modifier and proficiency bonus, and then tell the dungeon master what you came up with, and they'll tell you if you succeeded or failed. But in the game, they want you to roll the die, and then you don't have to do any calculations after. They want you to roll the die. They want it to be really exciting, and when that die stops rolling, you know right away if you succeeded or failed. So what the game does is they do the calculations before you roll the die. So right here, the game sees that you have a +1 charisma ability modifier. They know this, so they know that you don't actually have to roll an 8. You really only have to roll a 7 with your +1. So they give you that 7 above the die roll, so you know what you need to roll. But the difficulty class for the situation is still 8, if that makes sense. So if another character came up and did this situation, they might not necessarily have to roll a 7. The DC for the situation is 8 for everybody. But if another character came up and they had a +2 charisma ability modifier above the die, it would say 6. They would only have to roll a 6. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys, but I think Larian Studios is doing a really good thing with the mechanics for this. It's going to make the dice rolls just more exciting. So Sven rolls an 11, which means our charisma, ability, intimidation skill check was successful, and we're going to intimidate this goblin creature and get what we want. So now let's talk about a passive ability check. And Astarion is going to run up to the back of the dungeon right here and approach a wall. And automatically a passive perception check is going to be conducted on him. He didn't do anything to do it besides walk up to the wall. So there's a couple ways that they might actually handle these passive perception checks, or these passive checks in general. Let's see what happens right here. So right now you can see above his head, it's telling you that a passive ability check is being conducted, and perception failed. So that tells us that he failed his ability check. In this particular situation, it's telling you that it deals with the perception skill, which is part of the wisdom ability. So what I'm thinking is, according to D&D, most likely a passive perception check like this is not going to make you roll a 20-sided die. Instead, they're going to automatically give you a 10, and they're going to take your 10, then add your wisdom ability modifier, and then add your proficiency in perception. If you have proficiency in perception, they'll add your proficiency bonus, and that will be your results, and it will go against the DC of this situation. Like, say there's a hidden lever and you need a 13. Basically, before you even get up to the wall, the game already knows if you're going to fail or succeed. There's not going to be that roll of the 20-sided die. So that's what I'm thinking will happen, because it's similar in stealth situations with enemies trying to spot you with their perception. But it's also possible that this game might actually have a behind-the-scenes ability check happen, like we talked about earlier. Like, instantly the game is going to take the 20-sided die, roll it, get that random number, add your wisdom ability modifier, add your proficiency bonus if you have it, compare it to the DC of this perception check, and see if you fail or succeed. It's possible that they might do that, but it's more likely that they're going to go with the set 10. I don't know. I'm interested to see what they actually do. If any of you guys saw anything or heard anything about this, definitely let me know. So the cool thing here is that he failed. The Astarion failed the perception check, and he doesn't see what's on the wall, but us as a player, we know that there's something going on here. So what we can do is have another party member come over and attempt the same passive check. This makes the game a lot of fun. It's going to make exploration a lot of fun, because you're going to want to check every area to see if any of these passive checks go off, and if you fail, you want to bring another character in to try it. So he brings Gal up here, and you can see the passive check going on right now. It says perception successful. So Gal obviously was successful in this, and you can see that a lever or a button or something is appearing on the pillar right here, and Astarion is able to see it now, and he clicks it and opens a secret door. This is just really cool. These passive checks, we've seen a lot of them in the gameplay. I'm excited to see what the actual mechanics are behind them, but like I said, it's probable that you will automatically get a 10 and then add your ability modifier and your proficiency bonus, and that will go against the DC of the situation, the challenge that the game decides to assign, how hard it is for you to successfully complete some of these passive checks. So guys, wow, man, I have no voice today. I've been doing so much. Hopefully I didn't confuse you guys at all. I know I rambled a little bit in this last section of the video. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head a little bit. So hopefully I didn't confuse you guys. If you guys have any questions, put them below in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It's a huge help to my videos. I do all sorts of videos on this channel, ranging from comedy videos to live streams to game reviews to game tutorials and much more. I'd love to see some of you guys in a future video. Wow, I've said that line so many times now, I don't even have to think when I'm saying it. But I'd love to see some of you guys in a future video. Until next time.